Okay, Dr. Wallach, it's a pleasure to have you on and to have some good information. I want a message of hope today. So I think you're the man to give some of that today and give some really good information that people need to hear. So, how are you doing, first of all?
Okay, well, thank you so much for the opportunity to share with your audience and family and neighbors and so forth. Really appreciate that. And basically, overall, there's good news because we've been, doing these things to help people with their nutrition and their environment and their diet and their health, for 75 years. And we have a lot of experience and we're happy to say that when people do everything right, they get the benefit.
And like you said, you've been doing this a long time. So, if you don't mind giving a quick background history on how you kind of got into this industry and kind of your story and background, and then, what was it that made you want to dedicate your life to helping people get healthy?
Sure. Well, I'll kind of get into the second question first.
Okay.
Um, when I was a grade school kid, between 4 and 9, I was very violent and distractive and couldn't cooperate and didn't want to learn anything. Very disruptive, very violent. And I was strong because I was a farm kid and could throw 50-pound bales of hay. So even at 9 years old, I was dangerous.
Yeah,
And
I've thrown some bales of hay myself. I know those things are heavy, so that's
yep,
pretty impressive.
yeah. And so it's one of those things where um, over a period of 5 years, before my ninth birthday, my mom and dad had taken me to 20 different doctors. There were psychiatrists, there were pediatricians, there were psychiatric pediatricians, and not one of the 20 different doctors could figure out what my problem was. And so they finally decided they were going to put me into this medical institution, which is essentially a medical prison for violent people. Okay. I was probably going to be the youngest one there, 9 years old. And it's Friday night. I'm sitting, it was in May, and I'm sitting on the bed, on the foot of the bed while my parents are packing my clothes because on Monday they're taking me to this facility. And I'm realizing that this is going to be a dramatic change in my life. And I said, okay, why is it I have all these problems and nobody else has these problems? And I'm thinking. And so I said, okay, I got to make some major changes here. So next morning, Saturday morning, I threw my Cheerios, my Wheaties, and my oatmeal into the yard with the chickens and turkeys and so forth. And I went to the barn and we weaned the calves at a very young age so we could milk the cows and not give the milk to the calves. And so we had, let's see here, alfalfa pellets that we had enriched with vitamins and minerals for them. And so I filled my cereal breakfast bowl on Saturday morning with those alfalfa pellets were enriched with vitamins and minerals and put milk on it and had them for breakfast. I did it again on Sunday, did it again on Monday. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday, I was cured.
Wow.
After 5 years and 20 doctors who couldn't figure it out. And so I realized the doctors didn't know everything. Well, prior to that sort of incident, like everybody else, I thought, well, doctors know everything. And what do I know? Okay. But I realized that doctors didn't know everything, and particularly when it came to behavioral issues in kids and so forth. And to make a long story short, it wasn't long. We're talking weeks. In church and in school, people are whispering and pointing to me because I was a totally different person very quickly. And they heard that I had helped myself by taking vitamins and minerals. I was getting people coming up to me and said, I've got diabetes. Can you help me? And in 2 weeks' time, I'd get rid of their diabetes. I'm a 9-year-old kid. Okay. And
Crazy.
then they were having social issues and health issues with their behaviors and so on. And I was getting rid of that in them just by getting them the 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 minerals for the 3 fat acids, what we've been giving our calves. And it was working in people too. So, again, I'm 9, 10 years old and I'm figuring out all this stuff. And to make a long story short, when I graduated high school, in 1958, I went into agricultural school because I wanted to have a scientific farm. And so I entered the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri, in the Department of Agriculture. I was working my way through as well as taking the courses. And after I graduated, I got a BS degree in agriculture and soils and also in animal husbandry. I applied for and got into veterinary school. I was kind of shocked, but I had such good grades, they put me in veterinary school. And I was taking courses there and so on. And in let's see here, 1963, a year before I graduated veterinary school, I was working in the pathology department, earning some money to help pay my tuition and all that kind of stuff so I could finish my veterinary degree. And all the professors, it was Christmas time, holiday, all the professors are gone. I'm in the pathology lab there. And this farmer comes and he drops 50 dead lambs on me. I said, oh my gosh, what happened? He says, well, they were okay yesterday, but they're dead this morning. I said, well, was there any problem? No. And so when I opened them up, and every one of them, they were perfect fat lambs. They were scheduled to have their wool cut after Christmas, and they're going to go to market after New Year's, and fat lambs. And every one of them, their blood was black. It wasn't dark red, it was black. So I said, what would cause that? So I started flipping through pages and books and things. I saw that nitrate poisoning could cause very dark blood. And so I asked him, okay, does your farm have neighboring farms? Yeah. Do they raise animals like you? No, they just all raise hay and beans and squash and stuff like that. And what kind of fertilizer do they use? Well, they all use nitrate fertilizers because they get paid by the ton. And so they wanted more tons, so they use nitrate fertilizer. I said, okay, well, there's your problem. These lambs have been drinking that pond water on your farm every day for 6 months, getting that nitrates, and it's caused their thyroid glands to die. And they died of hypothermia. What was the temperature in your farm last night? Well, I don't know. I said, so we called right there when he was there. I called the state weather group. They said, oh, the temperature had been running in central Missouri in the 40s and 50s, but last night it dropped to 16. And they all died of hypothermia because their thyroids were dead, couldn't maintain their body temperatures. Okay. So we kind of fixed their environment. We got them on more nutrition, supplements and so forth, and graduated from veterinary school. And I started doing some extra work. Okay. And I got sent to Africa by Marlon Perkins from the old Mutual Omaha Wild Kingdom. So you're probably too young to remember him, but he was a great guy in the TV. Okay. And so I worked with him for many years. Well, he sent me to South Africa because the white rhino were dying, and they thought it was all due to people taking their land and turning them into farms and that kind of stuff. And the rhino didn't have what they were used to for thousands and thousands of years. And so I went there and I did that, but I also caught 200 of them because there's only 350 left, sent them to the United States. And we built a couple of wild animal parks for the white rhino there in Natal, in the province of Natal. And so we took some of those white rhino from the Umfolozi and Shoshlui game reserves and put them in those new parks that we had created. And at the 2-year mark, I was ready to stay in Africa forever. I delivered my second baby there myself out in the bush. It was one of those things where we were living pretty primitively, no running water, no electricity, nothing like that. We were living in the bush, okay, for 2 years. And then I got a letter from Marlon Perkins who said, look, we just got a big grant using your paper on that mass die-off from pollution. Oh, I forgot to tell you that there was 500, those sheep, okay, they all died. The whole flock died. He only brought me 50 of them, but the whole flock died. 500 died in one night because of that. And I wrote that up. That was my first scientific paper. And I, gave him a copy. And when I was in Africa, he and Barry Commoner, who's the head of the Department of Biology at Washington University in St. Louis, they got a $21 million grant from NIH to look for canaries in the mine in zoos. to save people from pollution. Okay, now canaries in the mine, the old coal miners used to take a little cage with canaries in it, and if gases, poisonous gases would leak into the mine, the canaries would die and we knew to get out. So they're going to use the zoos in big cities, in the big cities all over the world, as kind of a canary in the mine. So we're looking for species of animals in the zoos that would be sensitive to the same pollutants that we are. That was the whole purpose of the project. And they used my um, um, pathology report and those 500 dying in one night um, because of hypothermia. Okay, because for 6 months they've been drinking water contaminated with nitrate fertilizer. Okay. And so I was the obvious guy to be the pathologist on the project. So that's how that all began. And so it was kind of exciting. And it didn't take long to realize that we were in worse trouble than most people thought. Okay. In 10 years' time, I did 20,000 autopsies on 450 species of animals, got it published in a book called The Disease of Exotic Animals. It was a summary of my thesis, and it sold for $25,000 each. It was W.B. Saunders, big medical textbook publishing company, W.B. Saunders, sold for $25,000 each, and the average person couldn't afford them. So we came up with a summary of my thesis called epigenetics. We started a whole new science of epigenetics. Have you ever heard of epigenetics?
I
Epigenetics has
haven't.
to do with environment creating your illnesses, okay? Not your genes, because there are no genetic diseases. That was the finding of my 20,000 autopsies. There were all these animals are getting the same disease we are: arthritis, high blood pressure, diabetes, goiter, but it wasn't a genetic thing. Well, this is me
So
in 19. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to, because that's a big thing I don't want to brush over. Because everybody, including myself, have always been told there are genetic diseases and things that can be passed down. So you're saying there's
That's
none,
100% incorrect.
zero.
Zero. And so that's why my summary, my thesis, this is me in 1976 from the Yerkes Primate Center after my 10 years on that big autopsy project. I got a job at the Yerkes Primate Center at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. And I found the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis supposed to be a genetic birth defect in humans. And I tested all the baby monkeys there, and they all had cystic fibrosis. Okay, they didn't have the same mothers and fathers. And I traced it back to, again, okay, the nutrition guys. They were watching these monkeys, the moms and dads and the babies, eat, and they noticed that they were fighting over stuff, and they were just getting these monkey pellets and water. So they cut their monkey pellets by 90% and started giving them oranges and apples and beans and raisins and things like that. So they'd be busy eating and not picking on each other.
Mhm.
And that's why they had this nutritional deficiency that caused the cystic fibrosis.
Okay.
And so I was going to make this a big presentation the next year at the big national event. Okay. And when I submitted my paper, they fired me. They summarily terminated me just within 20 minutes, not 24 hours, 20 minutes. They read it and said, okay, you're fired. You're out of here, Wallach. You must be
Why is
sniffing
that?
glue. Everybody knows cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease. I said, no, sir. Can I prove it to you? No, you're out of here.
They
And
wouldn't
so
even listen.
nope, didn't even listen. And so I started going to all these events, trade shows, this and the other, trying to find some place. And I learned about naturopathic medicine, which I never heard before. And so I decided I was going to go to school and become a naturopathic doctor. Okay, because I didn't want to be like those guys. Okay, so that's how that all started. And it one of the things I learned in that 10 years is why all this was happening. Why in every zoo in the world, all these animals are dying of the same disease as we are, not genetic. And there's a district in New York City called Hell's Kitchen. I don't know if you know that. There's a place called Hell's
Uh-huh.
Kitchen in New
Yep.
York. Every bad thing that can happen to a human being happens in Hell's Kitchen in New York City. Okay. So that was the nature of this book. Well, what I did was I showed the transition from thousands and thousands and thousands of years of using wood and coal as fuel to electricity. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, when Thomas Edison pulled a switch in the first electric generating plant in New York. Okay. And when he did that, he essentially shut off the use of wood and coal as fuel. No more wood ashes for the garden, no more coal ashes for the garden. And wood ashes and coal ashes were 95% minerals and 3 or 4 or 5% carbon. And we were putting the wood ashes and coal ashes into our garden as fertilizer for
Uh,
thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And
okay.
suddenly now we didn't have the wood ashes anymore because we had electricity. Now electricity has turned out to be a wonderful thing, a boon for our factories and manufacturing, that kind of stuff. But electricity and the side effects of not having wood ashes and coal ashes has killed more human beings in all the wars we've participated in since the beginning of written history.
Wow. That's a big statement.
Okay. Okay. So this is a story. This is a transition from what's happened to humanity from all those years of wood ashes and coal ashes to electricity, Hell's Kitchen. Everybody needs to read this book and then they'll understand what's going on here. And then we have another book. This is only 2 months out there. This represents 75 years of understanding and studying diseases in human beings, okay, and animals, okay, 75 years. It talks about some of the major findings we found, all published, okay. Um, but like I say, it's 75 years of work in this book, and everybody should have this for their family, okay, because you can, I don't care if you've had diabetes for 25 years, I can get, if it's type 2 diabetes, I can get rid of it in a couple of weeks. Okay, you have rheumatoid arthritis. I can get rid of that in a couple of weeks. It's not an autoimmune disease. It's a simple nutritional deficiency arthritis with a secondary infection with a bug called mycoplasma, which is killable with an antibody called minocycline. Okay, and all this sort of stuff is in here.
Now, when you say get rid of it, when it comes to like rheumatoid
Cure it,
arthritis
cure
or something like
it.
that, you mean
CURE, cure.
not just get rid of further damage, but actually reverse the damage that's there?
Yeah, and kill the bug and stop the progression. And see, they're saying the rheumatoid arthritis, your body's attacking itself. There's nothing going on there except your body's attacking itself, and we can just treat the symptoms. Well, most of the medical treatments are treating symptoms. Very few of them treat the actual cause of the disease. And so that's the difference
Right.
between what we do and what they do.
Well, and like you said earlier, you said you went to 20 different doctors and nobody could figure out what was going on with you. And
Well,
I've been
my
kind of
parents took me. I was only a little kid. I was only 9 years old. So my
right.
parents.
Right. But I went through this. I mean, I'm still kind of going through a similar process right now. I've been through, I don't know if I've been through 20, but I've been over 10 probably. And over the last 15 years. And, I've been diagnosed with all kinds of things, arthritis and degenerative diseases and stuff like that. So it's refreshing to hear a different spin on it that, we're giving to people that they've probably never heard before, that this is, the one thing that you actually said the other day to me, when we had our one-on-one call, which was very nice of you to, because I didn't even ask for that. You just offered to take time with me one-on-one of what my issues are. But so thank you very much. But one of the things that really stood out to me is on that topic is you said nothing is too far gone. Nothing is too far gone, beyond repair. If excuse me, your heart is still beating, you still have a chance to recover and to make yourself, better.
Yeah. And
Uh,
so since you said those things, let me just throw one more piece in here.
sure.
Um, my papers that were published over that 20 years, I published 20 something papers. Each one of them was a revelation, something new that nobody had ever heard of before, right? And by getting these nutrients put into baby formulas, Enfamil and Similac, okay, because there's so many birth defects where kids were dying and
Yeah.
so forth. And I took my lawyer, Jonathan Emord, he and I went to federal court and we sued the FDA in federal court 8 times just on this one subject
Good for
to
you.
put these minerals into baby formulas because medical doctors had gone out of their way to proactively keep the manufacturers of baby formulas from putting minerals into the baby formulas. No zinc, no calcium, no selenium, no copper. None of that stuff could be put in there because these are poisonous. You can't put that in baby formula. So the baby formula people were kind of scared. And so John Themore, my attorney, and I, we went and we sued the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, 8 times in federal court over a period of 10 years. We prevailed. We got all those nutrients put into the baby formulas, and instantly cystic fibrosis disappeared. It just stopped. Then also, muscular dystrophy disappeared. We gave the information to Jerry Lewis, and I got an award for that in 2011, the Klaus Schwartz Award. In 2015, let's see here, we were going to do a big thing with Jerry Lewis, okay, but in August of 2011, okay, he was so excited because I showed him all of the records of the kids that we had cured of muscular dystrophy. It wasn't a genetic disease, and he had raised $2.6 billion over a 46-year period with his telethon to find something to deal with the cure and how to deal with this genetic disease, right, in kids. And so suddenly now, all the cases of muscular dystrophy stopped. And there was another disease called Sediment-Death syndrome, SIDS. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I have heard that.
Okay.
I don't know.
And what did you hear was the cause of SIDS? Why were they finding the babies dead in the bed?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, they were saying the mothers were laying on them and sleeping on them and suffocating them.
Oh yeah, I've heard that too. Yep.
You've heard that too, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that was so far off. Okay, so far off. And so when we put all these nutrients in there, suddenly now, just like turning on a switch, all the Sediment-Death syndromes stopped because of the deficiency of a single mineral in the baby formulas. So once we put them in there, cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, and Sediment-Death syndrome, SIDS disappeared. Now we actually have a let's see here, a pod. What do you call them? It's a permanent pod thing that we have. Podcast, is that right? Or
Yeah.
okay, but it's called the muscular dystrophy story. And we
Okay.
tell how we shared this with Jerry Lewis. He sent all those copies of the information to the Muscular Dystrophy Association. They summarily terminated Jerry Lewis in September of 2011, and they shut off his telethon, which was supposed to be on September 5th, on Sunday. They shut off the telethon, fired him, and he died just a couple of years later. Okay. But he knew because we had shared with him that we had found the cause, prevention, and cure for muscular dystrophy. And he was so excited to be able to share this. And when the Muscular Dystrophy Association heard that we were going to turn this loose on the world, they fired Jerry Lewis and shut off his telethon. That's the horrible
Is this
stuff that we went
all
through.
just traced back to money?
That's traced back to money. That is correct. It's a
Sickening.
horrible story. It was a horrible story. All the stuff, everybody knew Jerry's kids. Come on. Everybody knew that. And he died of a broken heart, essentially, because he knew we knew the answer, but they put him on a gag order so he couldn't say anything. They
Yeah.
got a federal gag order on him. Okay. And so I'm just so glad that we're at this point now that all this is coming out. And I can't thank you enough for, allowing us to share this with you. And of course, that's shared in here. Okay. The Wallach Revolution. It's shared in here, epigenetics. Okay, this is a big one. There's my cystic fibrosis monkeys in 1976. And of course, it's in here. The only time a doctor won't lie to you is when he's dead. Okay, the CD of this book is in 9 languages. We've sold over 600 million copies of the CD.
Oh wow.
Okay, 9 languages. Everybody needs to read this book. Everybody needs to read this book. Everybody needs to read this book. Okay. And this is me getting the Klaus Schwartz Award in 2011 for finding the cause, prevention, and cure of cystic fibrosis. Okay. Getting the gold medal for that. Okay. So I'm not just saying things that aren't true.
Right.
Okay. And so here's the story of the transition. This is the cause of all these problems because we have been using wood and coal as fuel for thousands and thousands of years. And people learned if they put the wood ashes and coal ashes into the garden, they got a bigger crop because there was something in the ashes. Well, they didn't realize it, but there was 95% of the wood ashes and coal ashes were minerals and only 3 or 4 or 5% were carbon. And then grandma would put some of the wood ashes and coal ashes into our food as a spice. And so we're getting it from 2
I would have
fronts.
never thought. I would have
No,
never
not
thought.
she didn't do it for nutrition. She just did it because it made the food taste better.
Interesting. So, um, did you have another thing you wanted to say on that?
Well, let's see here. I don't know why I didn't show you this. There's 37 different diseases you can get from osteoporosis of the skull. Doctors think you only get osteoporosis of your hips and your vertebrae and your knees, that kind of stuff. They don't realize you get osteoporosis of the skull also. Have you ever heard of osteoporosis of the skull, except from
I
me?
haven't. They tested me for osteoporosis, and I've never heard of osteoporosis of the skull though until
But
I
they were testing your legs and hips and knees and stuff like that.
correct.
Okay. Well, this is the book. There's 37 different diseases in here caused by osteoporosis of the skull. There's 12 pairs of cranial nerves in the spinal cord, all of which go out to the body, formed in the brain, go through the skull. The top picture is of a normal skull at autopsy. Remember, I'm a pathologist. We cut the skull cap off, and you're looking down on the brain. You see that the skull is a quarter of an inch thick. The second picture below it is we also cut the skull cap off at autopsy and looking down on the brain, but the skull is 1.5 to 2 inches thick. Osteoporosis of the skull. It's all connective tissue instead of bone. And the 12 pairs of cranial nerves go through 12 tunnels on each side. And the spinal cord goes through the foramen magnum, which is the big hole. That's Latin for big hole in the back of the skull. And you lose 75% of the internal diameter of those tunnels for the nerves and for the skull, or for the spinal cord. Okay, you
Okay.
lose 75% of the internal space. And so squeezing all those nerves and things, that's causing all these things that you need to go to ear, nose, and throat doctor and get a hearing aid. You have to go to a doctor for balance problems and get surgery in your ears and middle ears, and you have to get on a walker and canes and that kind of stuff. No, you just fix the osteoporosis of the skull and all those things go away. You lose your
How long
vision.
does it take when you see something that severe, like that picture you just showed? How long does it take to reverse something like that?
I always say, give me 90 days.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's not
And
bad.
they say, well, it won't be perfect, but all the clinical symptoms will go away. It might take another 3 months to be perfect, but all the clinical symptoms will go away within 90 days. Usually within 2 weeks, you're seeing improvement. Within 6 to 8 weeks, you're really good. And within 90 days, you got to watch it because they're thinking, oh, I can stop taking all these vitamins and minerals. No, you got to take this for the rest of your life. Otherwise, within 6 months to a year, you'll be back down in the hole. And the second time, you may not be able to get out of the hole. Okay. So you got to do this forever. This is a forever thing. And so this was a learning process for a lot of people, including me, because when we started this, we didn't know how long it would take to see benefit. We didn't know how long the benefit would last. We didn't know a lot. And so these books contain all this information. And so this is something that everybody who wants to have good health for themselves and their family, even if they're not going to do the longevity program as a business, even if they just want good health, these
So
books.
touch on that real quick. What is it you've talked about a lot of things, a lot of issues and that they can be reversed. Can you go in just briefly on specifics of what is it they need to recover and reverse those things? What
Well, I'll
so
say it this way: nutrition, okay, and we have what we call the Healthy Start Pack, okay, which is the Healthy Start Pack has 90 essential nutrients in it. There you go. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 minerals, and 3 fatty acids. That's what all vertebrates need according to a body weight, and the body weight thing is on the package and everything. Okay. And then we also learned that you could prevent these diseases because they weren't genetic, they weren't autoimmune, by taking these things before you were conceived. We could eliminate all the birth defects, including cleft palate, spina bifida, those kind of things.
oh wow.
People lose their vision because the second cranial nerve, which is the optic nerve, and optic artery and optic vein, slowly gets squeezed by the skull as the skull is filling up with all that connective tissue when you have osteoporosis, and squeezing the nerve and yeah, I'm just slowly losing my vision. My doctor says this happens when I'm a little older. I'm 50 years old, and he says, well, you're getting old. You got to think of this is going to happen. No, it's a nutritional deficiency. And so we had to retrain people what to eat, what not to eat. Okay, how to eat and how not to eat. Because nutritional minerals, Blake, do not occur in a uniform blanket around the crust of the earth. They occur in veins like gold and silver.
Okay.
They occur in veins like gold and silver. So you can be eating the same thing, same recipe as your twin brothers or twin sisters. And they're in the next county over, different stores, or they could be in a different state or a different country, and you got 10 problems and they don't have any problems. But we're twins. How can that be so different? Well, that's because of the food you're eating compared to the food they're eating.
Right.
They just lucked out and they got more nutrients because of the veins of minerals where they live.
Makes sense.
Okay. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So this is well, this information is here. And another thing we learned, um, we went to places where people lived a long time, including the Hunzas in Japan and places like that. And what we were looking for was, why did some groups live a long time? For instance, what's the life expectancy record in the industrialized world? The life expectancy record in the industrialized world is a French woman by the name of Jean Calment. 1997, she died at age 122 years, 164 days.
Okay.
Not bad, okay?
Not bad
For,
at all.
yeah, for a French woman, okay? So we've learned everything we could about her, her diet, and what she did, what she didn't do, and so forth. And we went to cultures like the Hunzas in the Himalayan mountains, okay, and other European cultures that lived a long time. And we spent 5 years doing that. All the things that they co-actively avoided, and all the things they co-actively did. And these stories and this information is in this book, Immortality. We actually have a product called Immortalium. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. It has a lot of these weird trace minerals you don't see very often here, there, and yon. Okay. And so we're covering the territory from birth defects to longevity. Now, in the Bible, Methuselah in the Old Testament was the longest living person ever documented. Okay. And do you remember how long Methuselah lived?
No, but I'm gonna guess close to 1,000, maybe.
969.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, 969 was his recorded lifespan, when his age when he died. He's the longest lived person quoted in the Bible. The good Lord in the Old Testament said, and man's year shall be 120, pretty close to Jean Calment from France, 122 years, 164 days. So and also there's one lady just the other day, she just turned 110, and they sent me a picture of her slow dancing with a male partner. Okay, she was very slow dancing at 110, but she was up on her feet dancing. Okay, and so that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
And
amazing.
so Japan is 84.7. New Zealand is 82.3. Australia is 82.9. South Africa is 63. The Ukraine is 71. The United States, depending on whose numbers you're looking at, is 73 to 75. The Philippines is 71. Our emergency room doctors, their average life expectancy is 58.7.
Isn't that crazy?
That's because of what they eat. And they don't take vitamins, minerals, okay? And they eat terribly, okay? They eat everything fried and quick, and they send the nurse to go get some French fries and fried potatoes and fried chicken and all that kind of stuff. And they don't take vitamins and minerals, and that's why they die at 58.7. Okay. And then our professional athletes in America, I mean, we're talking about people that get $3 million grants for a couple of years and that kind of stuff. Their life expectancy is 56.3.
Wow, that's
Exercise. Have you ever heard that exercise is good for you?
every day.
Okay. Well, next to electricity, exercise is one of the biggest killers of human beings on Earth. And
But I
here's
mean,
why. Huh?
moderation, right? Like there, to some degree, some people need some degree of exercise. Maybe not go crazy, but like you need to be active, right?
Well, here's the deal. It's a little more complex than that. The deal is this. When you exercise, what do you call all that liquid that comes out of your skin, your pores?
You're sweating out all your
You're sweating
nutrients.
out all your nutrients. You're not just sweating out water. And people say, well, boy, as soon as I get done exercising, I drink a lot of water and I rehydrate. Well, do you take anything else with it? Any vitamins? No, I just drink water and rehydrate. Okay, well, that's the problem, because sweat has all of your minerals, okay? All of your minerals that are floating around in your bloodstream. So it's coming out in your sweat because they're in solution, okay, in your sweat. And so you're losing all these minerals. And if you're just drinking water to rehydrate, you're doomed to an early death.
So is the
Okay.
sauna really bad for you then?
I'm sorry?
Is the sauna really bad for you then?
Same thing. Anything that makes you sweat, whether it's exercise or sauna, you
What
need
have
to
you
you need to be taking the 90 essential nutrients. Okay, if you're seriously exercising every day, once or twice a day, you need to be using our big hammer, we call it the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. It has 215 nutrients in it, but the 90 is still the core. And um, that's why we came out with a rebound. Have you ever heard of Red Bull?
yeah, uh,
Okay, Red Bull is the biggest selling energy drink and sports drink in the world. It sells billions of bottles of Red Bull, billions every year.
it's terrible
Billions.
for you. Yeah.
They only put one mineral in there.
And it's
They're getting
dangerous if you
energy
drink
from
too
sugar
much of
and
it.
caffeine. They only put one mineral, is magnesium. They just put magnesium in there. And I think that's because there's a guy by the name of Bruce Lee. Have you ever heard of Bruce Lee?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the fitness guru. Every country in the world had him come speak at their colleges and to their teams of professional sports and university sports teams because he was the fitness guru in the world. And then in 1973, at age 32, he dies of a heart attack
Which
because
is
he only put magnesium in his program, didn't supplement with any other nutrients. He just, quote, ate well. My doctor said I can get everything I need just by eating well. And he followed the doctor's instructions and he died at 32, a heart attack in 1973, because he's only supplementing with one mineral.
I always heard that he died from inflammation in the brain from a medication or something. That's not true. It's
Have
a
you ever
heart
heard of caca?
of what?
Caca.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's a nice way of saying BS. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And
Gotcha.
so when medical doctors don't know anything, they make something up. When they don't know what the cause of a disease, they very quickly find some way to reduce the symptoms so the patient is happy. And when patients are happy with the reduction of the symptoms, why find the cure? We'll just sell more of the symptom reduction. Okay. And so that's where the medical system has been for thousands of years, and that's why we have problems. Okay. And so it's one of those things where the medical system has contributed to this terrible history we have of health in humanity. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. And of course, remember Methuselah, 969. Okay. Now he lived in a time when the fuel was wood and coal. Okay. So he was getting his minerals. He lived in a place that had lots of minerals, volcanic eruptions, glaciers. Okay. Snow melt up in the mountains, coming, bringing the silt down into the valleys, all kinds of ways that people were getting minerals from their wood ashes and coal ashes and silt from floods and that kind of stuff. Okay. And then you have people eating the exact same recipes out in the desert and they're dying in their 30s, just like Bruce Lee did. Got it?
Yeah. Never thought about it before, but that makes sense.
Well, why would a doctor want to change your mind? Because he's making money by selling the treatments for the symptoms.
Right. It's evil though. It's
It is evil.
it's
So one of the ways that people can deal with this uh, is to and get this book, Rare Earth Spin Cures, on page 272. It starts something that I want everybody to do every year. Okay. And you collect your hair, and it starts page 272, chapter 10, 11. It'll tell you how to cut your hair, collect the hair, how to package it, where to ship it to. Don't forget to put the check in there. It'll give you a lab name so you can write the check out to the lab. I don't make any money from a hair analysis. Okay. But it tells you what your nutritional mineral level is, all your nutritional minerals, of which there are 60. It also tells you in a second chart how many toxic metals you get, like lead and mercury and uranium and stuff like that, based on where you work and where you live and all that kind of stuff. So rare earth spin cures, this is something you don't need a doctor's appointment. You don't need to ask doctor's permission. You just get that book from us, okay? And www.drjwallach.com, www.drjwallach.com. look at you just go there and fish down through there and look at all these books and see where you want to start. But information will help you add 25 to 50 healthful years to your life. Is not that worth $20 for a book, you know?
Of
And
course.
if you're doing the longevity as a business, or you have some other business that may be related, no matter how funny your business is, if it's related to health information, the book's cost is tax deductible. Okay. Or even if you buy it for your employees, okay, as a gift and holidays, it's
Knowledge
tax
is
deductible.
power. I mean,
There you
in
go.
God's word, it says, "My people die from a lack of knowledge."
Well, duh. Very good. Well said. Okay, Blake, what else you got?
Real quick, can you go over other? I know there's a couple myths, like the doctors always tell you stay away from salt, and
Oh, that's one of my favorites. Thank you.
yep,
Yeah, salt, of course, is one of the oldest alternative health things that people knew about. Thousands and thousands of years ago, people on the coast of various continents and islands and stuff would collect salt water, and they'd boil it and get the salt, and they would sell it inland, whether it was a big continent or an island or something, they would sell it inland. And people recognized very quickly when they had goiter, the size of a cantaloupe underneath their chin, that when they took the sea salt, that goiter went away in weeks. Now, they didn't know what it was in that sea salt, but they connected it with the use of the sea salt. Okay. People say, which one is it? Which one is it? Well, I don't like to tell anybody, because I used to tell them which one it was, whether it was diabetes or high blood pressure or goiter or Alzheimer's disease or arthritis. If they had stomach issues, kidney failure, they're on dialysis. I used to tell them which nutrient it was. And they would go to Costco's or something like that and buy that one nutrient. And then 3 months later, they were dead.
so it has
Because
to
they
be
didn't get
sea
all
salt.
90. They didn't get all 90. Okay, now when you have a car or a truck, do you just put dirt from Texas in your car or truck when the red warning light comes on?
No,
Come on, there's bound to be some oil in there.
right.
Okay, you have a way, you don't have to go to a mechanic. You have a way of checking your oil levels in your car. You have a way of checking your gasoline levels in your car. You have a way of checking the,
Coolant.
let's see here, the brake fluid in your car. You have a way of checking the amount of, let's see here, there's a transmission fluid. You can check all that in your car, and you're not just going to put dirt from Texas in your car because you believe there's bound to be some oil in it.
Right.
Nobody would do that to their car. You take better care of your car than you take better care of yourself.
Hmm.
And so that's why we came out and put all these things in these books and CDs and DVDs. And so right now we have 22 best-selling books. We have 3 more in the pipeline that'll be coming out here pretty soon. And I'm very excited about 2 of the 3. The other one's just, you got to have the information. The other 2 are spectacular, and I don't want to say anything yet, because I want to make sure that everything is perfect. And which, we have a long history of good information in our books and CDs and so forth, and we want to keep that reputation up. And we have people who, when you look at them, and they're very, very, which I say, worldly. In other words, they are in our longevity family, and they have customers and business associates and distributors in their group, and they're in 18, 20, 30 different countries. How do you think that they deal with that? Well, they have to deal with that with communications. We talk about telephones and Zooms and podcasts and things like that now in modern times.
Hmm.
But also, they have opportunity to get a hold of the books and CDs and DVDs to get that information out all over the world. Okay. And so this is not difficult. The information is there. And if you employ it, you will benefit. It's kind of like gravity. If you employ the gravity, you'll benefit from it. If you don't employ the benefits of gravity, gravity can kill you.
Yeah. So how much salt should we be taking in our diet?
Well, I like to taste, okay, because there's a disease called pica where you're just craving salt all the time when you're deficient in it. So if you're salting your food at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which I do, I like we have 2 salts in longevity. One is from Australia and New Zealand. It's called seasoned salt, okay? And so this is kind of a sea salt, essentially what it is. And then
Okay.
we have a similar one from the Himalayan mountains, there used to be oceans there thousands of years ago, maybe millions of years ago. And when the oceans went away, all the salt was left there. And we have 8 sources of our plant salt source. Okay. And so, in one part of the house, I have my seasoned salt from Australia and New Zealand. The other part of the house, I have my salt from the Himalayan mountains. And so it just depends on what part of the house I'm in, which one I'm using. But
Gotcha.
salt is required by every tissue and every cell in your body. And doctors say you got to stay away from salt because it'll cause high blood pressure. No salt, no salt, no salt. Any doctor who says that should have their licenses taken away. Okay. Because salt has 2 essential nutrients, and sodium. Every cell in your body, which is brain cell, heart cell, liver cell, kidney cell, skin cell, bone cell, muscle cell, lung cell, they all need sodium in the cells to do all these biological processes. Okay, transmits information. Okay, and then also, excuse me, there's the chlorine. Now, what is stomach acid made out of, Blake?
I don't know. That's a good question. I
Okay,
should
well,
probably
I'll give
know
you a
that.
hint. I'll give you a hint. It's the stomach acid is hydrochloric acid.
Okay.
Where do you get chlorine from?
You cut out on me.
Sodium chloride?
Okay. Sodium chloride. Well, that's the first thing they hook you up to in the hospitals, no matter what you got going on with you.
Yeah,
If they put it right on your arm and they recommend against it at the same time.
yeah. And so does that because they're ignorant, or is that because they want you to be sick so they can milk the insurance policy? I mean, I don't know which way that goes, but I know that salt is one of the great things the good Lord put on earth that we all need. And so that's why we went to the exotic salts, the seasoned salt from Australia and New Zealand, and the Himalayan salt from the Himalayan mountains. Okay.
Awesome. Now, can you, the next one is cholesterol. That's another thing. You said a couple things that I'd never heard before. So I'd like you to just quickly touch on that one.
Okay. Well, we have a cholesterol supplement. Okay. It's called I-26. They come in chewables, powder, and capsules. I take 2 chewables. They're vanilla taste. Even little kids will eat the vanilla ones, chewables. Okay. It says right on the label, provides 25% of your daily requirement of cholesterol. Now, medical doctors make you think that cholesterol is your worst enemy. Don't even say the word out loud, because you say the word out loud, it's going to kill you. Okay. That's the medical view. And 25% of your brain weight is cholesterol. It's called myelin. Have you ever heard of myelin?
I've heard of it.
Myelin is white matter of the brain, makes up 25% of your brain weight. And guess what? It's 100% cholesterol. 25% of your spinal cord weight is myelin. Okay. And that myelin is 100% cholesterol. 95% of sex hormones is cholesterol, whether it's testosterone or estrogen. When people have all these issues, well, do you salt your food? Oh no, my doctor won't. He said I'll get high blood pressure if I salt my food. Well, you need a different doctor. Probably it'd be safer to see a veterinarian than to see a doctor, because you're getting misinformation here. Okay. And so I run into this all over the world, no matter where I go, because doctors have been giving misinformation for a long time. And it's really a shame, because insurance pays for whatever a doctor says to do. Insurance pays. They're complicit. Instead of them saying, we've researched this, doc, and we don't want to pay for doing that anymore because it can cause bad stuff. No, whatever the doctor says, the insurance company will pay for.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered a lot today. I just wanted to kind of close on, I said in the beginning is, I really wanted to bring a message of hope to people, that it doesn't matter how many doctors you've that have told you whatever, that's maybe bad news that you've heard, or there is no hope with your condition, or maybe they don't know, which is kind of the worst answer. Sometimes you don't know what to do or not do. So I just wanted to have you guys hear straight from Dr. Wallach that there is hope, that there is, in many cases, cures, and reversing your situation.
Yeah, prevention then cures. And of course, again, the Wallach Revolution is a 75-year collection, okay, of our wins, okay, and how many things we've discovered to be fixable, preventable. And of course, then it's all in your head is 37 different diseases that are caused by osteoporosis of the skull. Doctors think you only get osteoporosis below your neck. Okay. Osteoporosis, if you have it in your little toe, you got it in every bone in your body. Okay. It doesn't select one bone. Okay. And I have to tell you, osteoporosis is the most expensive disease we have. You'd think it'd be cancer and Alzheimer's disease, stuff like that. Let me just give you quick 2 pieces of information here.
Okay.
Okay. Alzheimer's, we spend each year in America, just to treat the symptoms of Alzheimer's, $305 billion a year. That's pretty heavy. $305 billion a year. Billion, not million.
Yeah.
$305 billion just to treat the symptoms.
Yeah,
Okay. Now let's look at arthritis, which is osteoporosis of the joints, essentially. Arthritis. We spend 626.8 billion, which is double, okay, more than double. And then for osteoporosis, which is treating the long bones in your vertebrae and that kind of stuff, we spend 2.3 trillion with a T in America alone just to treat the symptoms. 2.3 trillion. This is right out of the government's reports. Okay. So you take arthritis and osteoporosis, we're spending 3 trillion with a T, $3 trillion a year just to treat the symptoms of arthritis and osteoporosis. And that's because people get osteoporosis and arthritis and doctors can treat it for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. Okay. Cancer. Okay. Let's see, cancer, we spend $208 billion a year for treating symptoms because they treat you for 3 to 6 months and either you live or die. Okay. Same thing with liver cirrhosis. We spend only $14 billion a year treating liver cirrhosis because either you live or you die. Okay. MS, multiple sclerosis, we spend 85 billion. Either you live or you die. Okay. And so asthma in kids, we spend $80 billion a year just to treat the symptoms. I can get rid of asthma in any kid in 2 weeks. Asthma is a very simple nutritional deficiency disease. It's not a genetic thing. It's not just something that happens to the kids. Asthma is a very simple nutritional deficiency disease. We get them on our program, and in 2 weeks' time, 2 to 6 weeks' time, depending on their size, they will no longer have asthma. Now, they have to stay on the program forever because how long do you need oxygen?
Forever.
How long do you need water?
Forever.
How long do you need the 90 essential nutrients?
Forever.
Blake, you're very quick. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping us share this information. We want to save as many as we can.
Absolutely.
Information. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is something obviously I'm very passionate about. I want to get the word out. I also, because there's so much here, we could talk for days on this. You have so
Yes.
much knowledge and information on this that there's so much of it people need to know. So I would like to find a way to even make some short form content that are those 60-second shorts on very important information that you have and get it out there because it's so important. And I think that's
Okay.
something that
Well,
people
here's
need.
one that you might start with.
Okay.
There's a new bull in town because Red Bull has 1 mineral. We have 75 minerals in our sports drink. We have 75 minerals and 25 vitamins, amino acids. They have 1 mineral.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
not even
75 minerals more than 1. Well, my math, yes. Okay. So there's 3 CDs in here, okay, which the little kids who want to play sports can understand. Okay. CD number 1 is Dead Athletes Don't Lie. And it goes into some famous athletes who died in their 20s and 30s because they were not using salt. They were not taking vitamins and minerals. They were just exercising and
right.
eating. Okay. The second CD in here is exercise without supplementation is suicide. Because the more you exercise, the more you sweat. The more you sweat and you're not supplementing, guess what? You're accelerating the oncome of death. The more you exercise, he exercised 3 times a day. How could he die at age 25?
Right.
That's why he died at age 25, because he was exercising 3 times a day. Do you have any idea how many vitamins and minerals he took? No, he just ate well. He had a good doctor. The doctor showed him what to eat and just eat well. That's why he died. Okay. And again, the life expectancy of professional athletes in America is, let's see here, 56.3. Now, also, the third CD in here is what kills billionaires. Now, you'd think, they buy all these fitness centers, they hire the best coaches, they exercise a lot every day, okay, 2, 3 times a day. Their life expectancy is 66.7.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the life expectancy in the USA, depending on whose data you're looking at, is 73 to 75. So the billionaires aren't living as long as the average person in America.
And they have the most access.
And they had the most access to people with knowledge, and they have the money to spend for anything, right? But they weren't taking, I asked some of these billionaires, do you guys take vitamins, minerals? Well, yeah, I take vitamin C every day. Well, what about the rest of them? Well, I go out twice a week and I spend $200 on my dinner. So I'm figuring I'm getting all the vitamins, minerals I need for my dinner because I'm spending $200 for dinner twice a week. Okay, well, that's a fallacy.
Right.
Okay. Because you can spend $200 for dinner, not get any nutrition, just a lot of calories and protein, but not
Right.
any nutrition, no minerals, no vitamins. And that's why the billionaires died 66.7. Now, obviously, there's a lot of them die before that. That's the average. Yeah, they don't all just get up to 66.3 and die.
Right.
Many of them are dying in their 40s and 50s and bringing that average down. Okay. But this is available. Okay. It's 3 CDs. Okay. It's called A New Bull in Town. And anybody who wants to exercise really needs to listen to these CDs because it will just shake you up. Okay.
Okay. And tell us where to get all that stuff again.
www.drjwallach.com, www.drj, not J-A-Y, but the initial J, Wallach, WALLACH.com. And if you buy 10 of any title, you get a big discount. If you're doing the longevity as a business, you want to be able to buy them at a discount. So you buy them at a discount and you have people coming in, want information. You sell it to them at the retail price, you make a little bit of money. It's tax deductible. It helps you run your business.
Perfect. And I myself, just full disclosure to the audience here, like I said, we had spoken the other day. I just got some of your supplements to try, and I will never, ever, ever lie to the audience. If it helps me, I'm absolutely going to share it to the world. I need it to get out there because I really know what it's like to suffer, and I want to make it a mission to end suffering for as many people as I can. So I will help you in that. If so, I'm excited. I'm ready to see what the next 90 days entails for myself and my future.
Okay, we'll make a
And
list and text me a list of all the things you're concerned about. Okay, I won't share with anybody else, but text me a list of things that you're concerned about, whether it's a joint problem or blood pressure issues or diabetes. Diabetes is one of the easiest ones. I mean, it's a very simple nutritional deficiency disease, and nobody should have diabetes for longer than 2 minutes. Okay,
okay,
it's a very simple disease to get rid of. I mean, I'm not talking about just managing the blood sugar. I'm talking about get rid of the disease.
right.
Okay, so you don't have to take medication. And uh, even congestive heart failure. There were all these dolphins in all the world's, um, uh, all these aquariums that these dolphins were dying of congestive heart failure. They're eating a fish. They were all being given a fish of a certain size because it was convenient for the dolphins to be able to swallow the fish. But that fish tissue had an enzyme in there which destroyed the nutrients that are necessary to prevent congestive heart failure. So we switched the fish, okay, to a type that didn't have the enzyme. We came up with a product called de-stress capsules. And within weeks, all the deaths in all the aquariums around the world from congestive heart failure in dolphins just stopped immediately. And so we started using this in our human patients, and we were able to stop and reverse congestive heart failure with that same supplement. Okay, we call it de-stress capsules. Now, when somebody has a heart issue, we have them take the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. Okay, and then we add the de-stress to it. We have the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets in case you have blocked arteries and high blood pressure. Okay, so you have all these things that are for the heart, high blood pressure, diabetes, congestive heart failure, all this stuff. Okay, and so there's 3 or 4 different things you want to be taking if you have a heart issue. And they all go away because they're all nutritional deficiencies things. None of them are genetic and none of them are autoimmune. None of them are due to age.
Sounds like almost every single disease, everything, the problems, and other than like injuries, it seems like is all nutritional based, like
You are
lack of
correct.
nutritional,
You are correct.
which is a big revelation. Like that's something we
Oh,
need to
you are
drive
correct.
home. Yeah. So what I would like to do, if we can swing it, I know you're busy, but I would love if it's possible, we could maybe in 90 days revisit after I've been on the program and
Okay,
see
yeah, that'd be wonderful.
see what the difference is in myself with my degenerative disc disease and my joints and all my
Yeah, and what
arthritis.
you want to do is, contact me a third of the way through and let me know how much of each thing you're taking, what you're taking, and what you're taking it for,
Okay.
and then and how long you've been taking the stuff, and then again, a third of the time later, contact me again. Let me bring me up to date. So if we need to tweak something, okay, we can do that. Okay,
Okay. Sounds good.
I don't want to hear, oh yeah, Blake was doing what you said, and he just dropped dead and died. I don't want to
I
hear
don't want to
that.
hear that either. I don't want that to
Okay.
happen. So we'll do that. And then like I said, we'll hopefully everything goes great and we'll help a lot of people. And I just want to thank
Well,
you
we've
again
been doing this
for
for
your time.
75 years. We kind of know what to expect, how to preempt and proactively make things happen in a good way. And if something's already going wrong when you come to us, we have ways of quickly reducing things if it's an immediate life-threatening situation or something as chronic like an arthritis thing. We can take a little bit longer. Okay, kind of thing. Okay,
Okay. I actually have one last question, and then
sure.
it's a quick one though. Um, for people that are really, because we're talking about a lot of different supplements, like especially for someone like myself, I've got a long list of supplements that I'm about to start taking. For somebody that's kind of sensitive to nausea when taking a lot of vitamins and supplements and stuff, is that something I should worry about with these, or what do you
No.
recommend to counteract that?
Okay, what you do is, take it with a meal. Don't take them on an empty stomach. Eat half your meal and then start taking your supplements.
Okay.
I take 75 tablets, capsules, and pills twice a day, in addition to 2 doses of the um, Healthy Brain and Heart Pack a day. I also take 2 doses of our Rebound. So I'm getting 100 nutrients 4 times a day. And I only weigh 140 pounds. Now I'm 84 years old. In 2 months' time, I'll be 84. Not too bad, for an
Not
old
too
guy.
bad. How many medications are you on?
None.
Exactly. That's
I've
what we
only
need.
been on prescription medication 3 days when I was getting an IV antibiotic for 3 days when I fell up in Canada about, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, fell into a big ditch, a construction site, and got punctured with rebar. And they, without asking me permission, but they just um, hooked me up to um, uh, the antibiotics. It was just for 3 days. But other than that, I've never been on any prescription drug prior to
Sure.
that injury or afterwards. And that was,
Wow.
I'm going on 84. I'm not on any prescription drugs now. Um, I do take extra Rebound if I'm going to be doing a lot of physical stuff out and either in the yard or at the office, sweating, unloading trucks or something like that. Okay. So I take extra when I'm sweating as opposed to on days when I'm just doing gabbing.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think we'll end it there. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you here shortly and revisiting this
Okay.
conversation. Thanks again, Dr. Wallach. Have a great
Thank
one.
you, Blake, and thank you, and good words to all of your associates. Bye bye.
Bye bye.